In the rough mountains of Appalachia and the green forests of Alberta, Canada, lives a legend known to many as the most terrifying cryptid to ever roam North America. Gaunt skin and ashy flesh, glowing eyes and eaten-away lips, sometimes described as a 15-foot tall man with antlers, or a beast that grows as it eats. The Wendigo has many different appearances, but at the very least, it is known to be a cannibalistic, greedy, and violent monster, one that smells of rotten flesh and gluttony. Hi, and welcome to the Cryptid Compendium, a series wherein we go over the lore, background, and latest events of your favorite cryptids. Let's get into it. As a part of the Algonquin people's vast belief system, the Wendigo rears its ugly head in many different, albeit related, indigenous tribes. From the Ottawa Valley of Ontario to modern-day Quebec, indigenous communities such as the Ottawa, the Potawatomi, and the Ojibwe tribes form a common group that are known as the Anishinaabe. The Anishinaabe, as well as many other native groups, hold an almost religious belief that souls and spirits can and do exist in natural objects, people, and animals. This belief is commonly referred to as animism, and the spirits that inhabit those objects or the people or the animals are referred to as Manitou, which literally means spirit or supernatural being. Now, these beings could be good, or they could be evil, or they could just kind of be indifferent to either side. Now, the Wendigo is a kind of Manitou, and that name, Wendigo, most likely translates to, literally, evil spirit that devours mankind. So, yeah. Now, this is going to come up a lot. All the different native tribes have different stories and folklore that relate to the Wendigo, okay? So, the Ojibwe tribe might have a different description or a different way to become the Wendigo than the Potawatomi tribe or any other, native tribes that are within that group. So I'm gonna go over a lot of things, and they're gonna kind of, I wouldn't say that they contradict themselves, but they're just different descriptions. And so in some, it will say something, and then it won't even talk about that in another depiction of the Wendigo. So just, put your seatbelt on. Let's just get through this. It's gonna be a lot. Now, as to how and where a Wendigo is created, no one really knows, but there are a bunch of different ways. Some say that a Wendigo was once a powerful warrior who bargained with an evil spirit to gain strength and power and become more than they were. Others say that they're shamans who turned sour towards their tribespeople and turned to dark magic as a way to gain strength and power, just like the other ones. So really, the main connection as to what a Wendigo would be is someone who wants power. That comes up in a lot of different depictions of the Wendigo. All right, like I said before, once again, descriptions of this elusive Wendigo vary by tribe. They're most often described as 15-foot tall beasts with glowing eyes and gaunt skin. They have razor-sharp claws and yellow wolf-like teeth. They are said to be perpetually emaciated and always looking for their next meal. They also carry around them the scent of rotten flesh, which is just disgusting, but also their lips and their fingers are eaten away because of their hunger for flesh, for human flesh, which would likely mean that the Wendigo is a human? Anyway. All right, let's keep going. By the way, I write these scripts, and I'm not very good at speaking out loud, which is kind of why I started this YouTube channel. So we're gonna go through it, okay? Just bear with me. Recently, portrayals of the Wendigo are like super antler heavy. Antlers everywhere, all over the place, mostly on the head. That's actually all they're on. It doesn't matter. Lots of people like to see a Wendigo and claim that it has antlers, but this doesn't really ever show up in any Native American accounts of what a Wendigo is or what it was. So I think it really is just more of like a common modern depiction of a Wendigo. There are several mentions of the Wendigo stalking its prey through the tree line and tormenting them before going in for the kill, which would lend credit to its often described animalistic nature. If a Wendigo does not kill its prey though, there are some depictions that it can pass the curse on to other people, but this can happen in many different ways. One way is that the Wendigo could bargain with its prey, thus turning the person into a Wendigo themselves. So now there's two Wendigos, not great. Or it could bite them, which kind of is like a zombie virus. You know, it's kind of like an ancient zombie virus, okay? Or the curse could just pass on from one Wendigo to a person, leaving the original Wendigo, I guess, as a person or maybe dead. And then the other person is like a new body to go run around and eat people in. Wendigos are also known to punish and or possess those who are greedy and gluttonous, whereas they may reward those who are kind and sharing, which is odd because I would imagine that the Wendigo is just purely evil, but who knows. In many native stories, the Wendigo is said to live in colder climates. This is due to some accounts reporting that the Wendigo is like cold to the touch or has like icy crystalline formations on their skin or their fur or hair or whatever they may have on them, depending on if it's a person or if it's like a beast or whatever. But they're also often described as having like literal hearts of ice, or more literally like hearts encased in like a thick layer of ice to protect them. This heart of ice is really like the crux of how to either kill or cure a Wendigo. Because yes, you can cure them. In some native stories, you can cure them. So to cure a Wendigo, you need to get them to ingest hot, like melted fats, either from duck or bear meat. And that literally melts their heart and turns them back into the person that they were before they became the Wendigo. To kill a Wendigo, it's a little more difficult. There's a lot that goes into killing a Wendigo. So there are some reports of like silver bullets or like stakes to the heart, which that's a pretty normal thing with most like vampires or werewolves and stuff like that. That's pretty normal. But in one depiction I found, it was like so instruction heavy. I feel like you could probably make a no sleep story out of it, but it's literally, you have to find a way to chop the Wendigo up. So like cut the head off, cut the arms off, cut the legs off, and then you need to burn the body, including to include its blood and its clothing, because that can somehow bring the Wendigo back to life if it's left unburnt. But the heart that's encased in the ice, you wouldn't imagine it would do this, but it's very hard to burn for some reason. You would imagine it'd actually be very easy to burn, but it's not. It's very difficult to burn. So they say literally to like get a mortar and pestle and grind it up, or like cut it into tiny pieces so that it's easier to melt or to burn. So like once it's all burned and the ash is in a pile in front of you, right? You cannot touch it. You can't touch the ash. If the ash is disturbed in any way, the Wendigo can come back. But this is really what's interesting. After you leave the ash undisturbed, you have to wait until the vegetation around the area is completely regrown. So everything that burned away while you were burning the Wendigo up, you have to wait until it's grown back. So you have to sit there and watch the ash and watch the grass and stuff as it grows back. It's crazy. I would just let the Wendigo kill me and eat me up at that point. I don't have the time. I don't have the time nor the patience. I'm a very impatient person. That's probably not a good thing. I should probably go to therapy or something. Nah, I don't need to. Okay, so let's get away from the like background of what a Wendigo is. Let's get into a little bit of the lore. Okay, so there's really only one good case I could find about the Wendigo. And if there are more, let me know in the comments. I'm down there, I'll talk to you guys. I don't even care, okay? I want to talk to you guys about this. This is interesting stuff to me. That's why I'm making stories about it, right? That's why I'm making videos about it. So I want to talk to people. Okay, anyway. So the one story that I found that was actually really interesting. In Alberta, Canada in 1879, Swift Runner was tried, convicted, and executed for murdering and cannibalizing his entire family. Swift was a forest guide for the Northwest Mounted Police, which made him uniquely familiar with the surrounding forested areas. In late fall of 1878, Swift Runner, accompanied by his entire family, that's his wife, his 6 kids, his mother, and his brother, went into the forest after being disillusioned with the mounted police and their tribe. So they were gonna set up camp in this forest and live by hunting and trapping, and it was 1878, you know, that's just what people did, I guess, I don't know. They set up camp and they started hunting and trapping for food, but once winter hit, the family dynamic kinda took a turn for the worse, sadly. I'm kind of spoiling, well, I already spoiled the story, but it kind of took a turn. And in spring of the next year, Swift Runner exited the forest alone with none of his family. And when the police, the mounted police who he used to work for, caught wind of his whole missing family, they literally went to Swift and was like, hey, you gotta take us to where your camp was. So he's once again assuming the role of guide, forest guide, and taking them to the camp that him and his family lived at for the whole winter. So they go to the camp, and what they see is one of his sons had died of natural causes. And they were able to determine that it was natural causes. But what they didn't see was any of the other family members. Now, when they started searching the camp, they found bones scattered around the outskirts, okay? They were able to determine, after a confession, that Swift Runner, he confessed to murdering and cannibalizing his entire family. He also confessed to literally cracking the bones open and sucking the bone marrow out of them. What he did say, however, was that he was possessed by a Wendigo. He didn't have a choice. He had to eat them. I was possessed. It wasn't me. It was the Wendigo. He came and he made me eat my whole family, which is crazy. In fact, what's even crazier is that the last person he killed was one of his sons, and he killed him in spring. When, you know, it wasn't winter anymore. It had just turned spring. All the animals were back. He could have hunted and trapped and done whatever. He could have left and gotten supplies, or, I don't know, gone to like a Sonic or something and gotten some food. But he literally killed his son and ate him when there was other options. So they determined, they being the police, determined that Swift Runner had either bludgeoned, shot, or some other way killed his entire family. And he was then tried and convicted in 1879, and he was actually the first ever legal hanging in Alberta, Canada, which, good, he needs to die. Is that a bad thing to say? I don't really care. He's kind of a bad guy. Now, this story of the possession of the Wendigo is the first case, or the first time that the Western world had ever heard of or come into contact with a medical disorder or a mental disorder known as Wendigo psychosis. Now, Wendigo psychosis is kind of a controversial and it's fairly outdated medical disorder, but it's characterized as someone with depression and withdrawal, insomnia and paranoia, an urge to eat human flesh, and cannibalistic urges even when other food sources are around, which kind of alludes back to Swift Runner, who ate his son in the spring when he could have gone to Sonic or Chick-fil-A or something. Do you think Chick-fil-A was around back then? Probably not. Today, Wendigo sightings are at an all-time low. Many believe the spirit or the beast, whichever it may be, to just be a story. Perhaps it's one to keep hungry natives from eating their families during a harsh winter when there were no other food sources around. Or maybe it's just a scary story that you tell your friends while you're camping in the Appalachian mountainside. The only thing that's for sure is people say not to go out alone at night in Appalachia or any of the other scary forested areas in America and Canada. Some people say that if you hear a tea kettle whistling in the distance, to turn around and run away. Or if you hear a voice that's mimicking yours. Or if you see a shadowed, antlered figure off in the distance of the tree line, turn around and run away, because it's probably a Wendigo. All in all, the Wendigo is a creature of unknown origins and one simple goal: to eat people. All the different stories and folklore that surround it make understanding the creature very difficult. What we do know is that the forests of North America are not to be trifled with. The Wendigo, whether he be a spirit or a beast, haunts them still. But rest assured, if it's cryptids you seek and knowledge you want, I'm here for you, and so is the Cryptid Compendium. Join us next time as we undertake one of the most interesting alien encounter stories ever, the case of Injured Cold, better known as the Smiling Man. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know I had a lot of fun making it. Join us back here for more episodes of the Cryptid Compendium or any other things that I may release that you might like. All in all, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see y'all in the next video.
To say more Native American names in English. This is a group of culturally related indigenous peoples resident in what are now Canada and the United States, but how do you go about pronouncing it? Anishinaabe. You do want to stress on the fourth syllable, on the na syllable. Anishinaabe.
Anishinaabe. Anishinaabe. The Anishinaabe. Okay.